Welcome to the Prehocracy Show.
This is our pre-show that we're going to be doing every so often when we have some important stuff to talk about. And as you can see, it's important stuff to talk about.
Yes. In our pre-show, we're going to basically discuss some of the things kind of before the show so that we, in this case with Star Wars, we're super excited about talking about it. There's a lot to cover, and we really need to talk about the movie, really to geek out and get in the right setting to talk about the advertising of Star Wars, really.
There will be spoilers.
Big alert.
I have said it, so if you get something spoiled, it is not my fault.
And it's been long enough that you should have gone and seen it.
Yeah. Come on.
There's been enough hype.
What's taking me so long?
Absolutely.
Really. So, let's just get right on into it. Han dies. All right? There. Get that out of the way. Which I was okay with. I felt like he had his...
Well, if you're gonna drop those spoilers, let's back up a little. The big bad guy in this that for most people looks like and sounds like and is emulating Darth Vader.
I thought you were gonna say Bane from Batman. Because it's not that bad. Okay.
He is Han Solo's son. Han and Leia have a kid. He basically wants to be Darth Vader. He loves Darth Vader. He's basically kind of trying to take his footsteps and take his thing to the next level. That's another big spoiler. So he's the one who kills Han.
Which, I hope they do something to make his death... I mean, there's a lot of people who are theorizing that kind of this Snape type thing, that he's infiltrating the dark side, that it was all part of the plan, which would be... I mean, part of me is like, that would be kind of fun. That would be an interesting thing. But at the same time, I'm like, we've already figured it out. Don't do that. Do something else.
It is funny that you bring up Snape, because there is that scene where he's interrogating Rey, and the whole time I'm thinking Harry Potter, when they're doing the Legimolency thing, where he's getting into her mind, and then all of a sudden she pops into his mind. Because he's in the dark robes, and he's got his hair, and he's got the nose, it was like that whole.
He would actually make a really good young Snape. Like if they ever do a TV series or like a series where it's like Snape's life, which I could see happening. Maybe like cast somebody like him. He could be pretty good.
Yeah. So, I guess to start off.
Yeah.
I've seen the movie twice now.
I saw it once.
I absolutely loved it.
I liked it.
I really enjoyed it. Star Wars is something for me. Like, I liked the originals, but they were never like, I was never really so involved in them, and I was never like, oh, I'm Luke Skywalker. Like, I'm like, okay, good story, fun story, really interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars was definitely a big part of my childhood. I remember, not only did I watch Star Wars, but I remember watching Ewok Adventures as a kid, Battle for Endor, and I loved it. I thought the Ewoks were the greatest thing in the world. So I felt the prequels were okay, but I felt like they relied a little too much on the action, heavy, not enough story or character development. Let's not even get into the dialogue. We want to move on to bigger and better things. So I was excited in this movie it felt like Star Wars.
Yeah.
It felt like this adventure movie, this, good versus evil. And I just thought, it had that Star Wars feel. It relied heavily on nostalgia. Mm-hmm. But it did a good job. I'm going to just say I'm glad that I think J.J. Abrams did a great job directing this one. I thought it had a good story. It was definitely, a good first movie, but I hope the next ones are better. I hope they don't just rely on nostalgia from now on. I think that they need to evolve a little bit more and do a little bit better than that.
I think they will. I mean, if you know the way that Star Wars goes, if you know the way that at least that they're setting it up, I'm sure that they have planned out these three movies, at least the main structure of the plot points.
Yeah.
Because this definitely was a setup. It's been 30 years since the first three have been released. We haven't seen these characters for a long time. You kind of need to reset this up.
Yeah.
And I've read enough on, enough of the bad critiques, the good critiques. There's so much to this, and I can see why. For one, Star Wars is hallowed ground for geeks. For a lot of people and for a lot of reasons, Star Wars is what I mean, it takes you back to childhood. It takes you back. It may connect you to a mom or dad.
Well, and it's for our generation. It was their Harry Potter. It was this saga that kind of defined that generation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for them, it was Star Wars. It was Luke. It was Darth Vader, and I mean, it created a culture very similar to the culture that I see today with Harry Potter, where you have groups and fan groups and fan groups of fan groups and all of these things. And J.J. Abrams had to step very lightly to, and I was amazed. I was so impressed that he was able to create a film that felt like Star Wars, that appealed to both new and old. Mm-hmm. A lot of that was done with the marketing, which we're going to talk about in the show. But it was really, I mean, he did a good job. But it wasn't perfect. But it was really well made. It felt like you were going back to those old movies, those Star Wars movies. And
here's one of the interesting points. I was talking to one of the guys at work. He actually came from the toy industry, and he had a lot of ins on this. And so before the movie, before any of this came out, he actually asked his nieces and nephews. He said, "Hey, what do you think about Star Wars?" And they're like, blah, I don't know. Like they didn't have any emotional attachment. They didn't think about, like, it wasn't anything. After the movie came out, they're like, "Oh yeah, I love this guy. I love that guy." They wanted to see the originals. Like it excited both current generation and the generation that grew up with it.
And we gotta talk. I mean, if we're gonna do Star Wars, we gotta talk about the characters. The characters were so good. Mm-hmm. They were dynamic. They had a lot of. They were well-rounded. They have a ton of backstory and stuff you can delve into to create more of the characters. They definitely weren't one-dimensional. I mean, I think Finn, as a stormtrooper who is starting to realize that maybe he's not the good guy. Rey, I mean, come on, she's awesome. I mean, I have three very feministic sisters, and guess who their favorite character was? Yeah, that's
Leia.
Right. Yeah, Leia, exactly. Actually, they really, well,
she was the general, so of course she was liked. Well, and that's kind of the interesting thing too, is they did a great job of making her seem really strong. Like, Finn is this good guy. He's having these moments of oh, I want to be a good guy. I need to do the right thing. He has that moment where he decides to, like, go in and help save her, basically protect her from those guys that are taking the droid. And she just beats him up, and he's like,
no.
Oh.
I mean, the whole line about, I could run a lot faster if you weren't holding my hand.
Stop taking my hand.
I know.
I did love that. And I will say this, because I know that there are people out there who didn't like it. Mm-hmm. And for many reasons. One person I talked to, she didn't like it because she didn't even like or haven't really even seen the originals.
Yeah.
And so she has no emotional attachment. And here's another thing. For people who are really, like, digging into this and looking for, like, failure points and things like that, mm-hmm. This is a movie in space. Like, this is out of someone's imagination.
Yeah.
Like okay, say that this is wrong. I mean, okay,
the new Death Star that, consumes the sun, and its mass would increase by such and such times. It would create a black hole that would destroy everything. Okay, yeah, but they also have laser swords, and they also, can have a magic power force that can read minds. I mean, yeah, okay, yeah.
Well, and another point is, this is entertainment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's written for entertainment. There are several points within the movie where I'm looking at it thinking, okay, this was definitely written because of, they needed the plot point. They needed to progress a story. Mm-hmm. For example, Phasma, General Phasma.
Okay. Yep.
They put her in a trash compactor. She's supposed to be this bad guy. And for those who don't know, she was actually she was sort of the first and the couple of first iterations of Kylo Ren.
Oh.
Like that was supposed to be kind of the idea. They're like, "Ooh, a silver stormtrooper, that's cool." Well, okay, and they kind of progress that.
But they really like the design.
Yeah, they're like, you can't get rid of that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have compared her to Boba Fett. Like, okay, she's supposed to be this big bad guy, but she does nothing. Boba Fett did the same thing. Like, yeah. he was useless, but he's this awesome bad guy that everyone loves. Like,
I know. His death was, not. It wasn't this huge battle fight thing. It was like got thrown off into. It was. Yeah. Okay. The other thing I was gonna say is Poe. I mean, I did not even expect him to be a main character. I recognized him. But
he seemed kind of like a dot to lead into the story.
And for me, he like stole the show. I just thought he was the greatest character. He was so fun.
He had a lot of the Han Solo lines.
Exactly.
Like his comedy in it, like when he's sitting there like, I can't understand you with all that mask on your face. Like, am I supposed to talk? Are you supposed to talk? Like, classic, beautiful.
Oh, I know.
The other thing with him that I absolutely, I also had seen one of the first movies, and some of the like, jet fight scenes, they're using models a lot like these, and so they're just sort of like, they kind of take a shot where they pan and zoom. Yeah. With some of the stuff that they were able to do in this movie, like, he was a great X-Wing fighter. Like that scene where they're over the planet, the Imperial side has come in, and they're basically taking out Maz's establishment, and he comes in, he's just shooting people down, people on the ground, like he's just destroying. Like it was amazing. I was like,
that was really
this
fun.
Is a great scene.
All right, well, we got to get started with the show. So, that's our review of Star Wars. Tell us what you think, what you thought of it. Remember, be courteous with the spoilers in the description. We don't want to ruin this for anybody. Let us know what you thought.
Yeah, let us know. It'll be great to see what people say. We know that there's so many different opinions, and we'd love to hear yours. And I mean, granted, there's a whole lot more we can talk about, but let's get ready. Do I look awesome?
I think that's pretty good.